There are movie cars that become legends because Hollywood wanted them to be polished, protected, showcased like rolling celebrities. And then there are cars that become legends the hard way, by surviving danger, breaking rules, and roaring across the screen with nothing but raw steel reckless courage and a fate sealed in gasoline. The 1969 Dodge Charger from Dirty Mary Crazy Larry belongs firmly to the second category. Before the world was filled with CGI crashes and green screen chases, this film dared to do something wild, unleash a real muscle car at real speed on real American highways. No tricks, no digital touch-ups, just a bright yellow Charger pushed to its limits by a fearless production crew, a stubborn leading man, and stunt drivers who believed danger was simply part of the job. The result wasn't just another 1970s chase movie. It was an adrenaline-soaked time capsule one, where every skid mark, every engine roar, and every near miss actually happened. But the Charger wasn't just fast. It was fragile. 3 separate 1969 Chargers were purchased, modified, pushed, repaired, and in the end, sacrificed. One lived through brutal high-speed days. One was built for interior close-ups. And the one fans remember most met its fate in a single unforgettable moment that the crew could only shoot once. Yet behind this iconic yellow blur is a maze of secrets. Illegal highway filming, broken axles, Peter Fonda's insistence on doing his own driving a flying camera rig that tore loose at high-speed studio executives who hated the ending and stunt coordinators who still call this film one of the most dangerous projects of the decade. This is the untold story of the other legendary Charger, the outlaw sibling forgotten in the shadow of the General Lee. These are 20 weird facts about the 1969 Dodge Charger from Dirty Mary Crazy Larry. Long before the Charger became the yellow streak audiences would never forget the production team of Dirty Mary Crazy. Larry faced an immediate challenge. They needed a car that could be fast, durable, and visually striking, and they needed multiple versions of it. That's where Fact 20 comes in. Instead of relying on a single hero car, the crew sourced 3 different 1969 Dodge Chargers, each assigned a distinct role. One would endure the abuse of high-speed chases, one stayed cleaner and prettier for interior filming, and one was reserved for the final irreversible crash. It wasn't uncommon for films of the era to use duplicates, but this was unusually systematic, a sign that the crew knew exactly how extreme their shoot would be. From there, the Charger, designated as the primary runner, underwent meaningful upgrades. Fact 19. The stunt team modified the suspension and carburetor, so the car could maintain high speeds for extended periods. These weren't showy racing mods, they were practical survival-driven changes. The movie's chase scenes were long, relentless, and filmed under real pressure, so the Charger needed to behave more like a track car than a factory muscle car. If this film had been made today, digital enhancements would have cleaned everything up. But in 1974, the only way to capture authentic action was to create it. Fact 18, the movie used zero CGI simply because CGI didn't exist yet. But even compared to the miniatures and rear projection tricks of the time, Dirty Mary Crazy Larry refused shortcuts. Every burn of rubber, every fishtail, every close call was a real mechanical event happening in front of the camera. This realism pushed the stunt team and the car toward the edge. Fact 17. The stunt drivers reached speeds close to 100 mph, 160 km/h during filming. It wasn't for show. Some scenes required maintaining those speeds for long stretches to keep continuity. Shooting on actual highways meant there was no controlled racetrack environment. One mistake could send the Charger into the ditch, or worse. And if that wasn't enough, the crew designed one particular moment to be cinematic, dangerous, and unforgettable. Fact 16. The side-by-side with the truck sequence is still considered one of the most perilous stunts filmed in the 1970s. The Charger had to hold its line at high speed while a massive semi-truck thundered beside it. There were no digital safety nets, just raw steel nerves of iron and a narrow margin where human error was simply not allowed. Together, these early facts show how the Charger was never just a prop. It was a co-star push-modified and risked in ways that would make modern studios hesitate. And this was only the beginning. As the production moved deeper into filming, the yellow Charger evolved from a simple muscle car into something far more unusual, a machine constantly tweaked, repaired, and pushed beyond what Dodge engineers ever imagined. And a surprising number of those changes came from accidents, improvisation, or desperation. Fact 15 begins with the car's most recognizable feature, its bright yellow paint. That iconic shade wasn't part of the original plan. Early design notes show the crew considered a dark green finish, aiming for a grounded, gritty look. But when the director watched test footage, something felt off. The Charger blended too much with the landscape. The team needed a color that shouted on screen. Yellow wasn't just a choice, it was a necessity. Under harsh sunlight and high-speed motion, the color made the Charger feel almost alive, becoming a visual signature of the film. Moving beyond cosmetics, the sound department faced its own challenge. Many productions of the era relied heavily on artificial engine noise. Not here. Fact 14. Most of the Charger's roars, gear shifts, and tire screams were recorded live. This meant attaching microphones dangerously close to the exhaust underneath the frame, and even inside the engine bay. It also meant capturing unpredictable, unrepeatable sounds, the kind that modern films often fabricate in studios. That rawness helped the Charger feel real, like a beast breathing through metal and fuel. But realism came with risks. Fact 13 highlights a shocking truth: the cars used in the film did not have proper roll cages during several high-speed scenes. In today's standards, this would violate every safety guideline. But in 1974, the focus leaned heavily toward capturing authentic motion. Some frames show the interior stripped down, with nothing between the driver and a catastrophic rollover except thin factory metal. The stunt team accepted the risk because the film demanded it. There was simply no other way to get the shots. That thin margin of safety caught up with them more than once. Fact 12. The primary Charger suffered a serious mechanical failure. The rear axle partially gave out after an especially aggressive drift. It happened just hours before a major chase sequence was scheduled to shoot. Canceling wasn't an option. Mechanics and stunt coordinators worked overnight welding, reinforcing, and recalibrating the car so it could survive another day of punishment. Most movies hide these emergencies. Dirty Mary Crazy Larry was built on them. And then comes Fact 11, a moment that still sparks debate among fans. One of the Chargers was completely destroyed on camera. Not a dummy car, not a lightweight replica, a real 1969 Dodge Charger. The explosion and wreck seen at the film's finale wasn't created through editing tricks. It was the irreversible fate of the third unit car sacrificed for cinematic impact. The crew only had one shot. No retakes, no margin for error. The destruction was so convincing that some viewers at the time thought it was irresponsibly real, because it was. These mid-tier facts reveal the dynamic tension at the heart of the production. Every time the Charger gained power, it also faced danger. Every modification solved a problem, while every mistake created a new one. And with the stakes rising, the strangest and most unbelievable secrets of the film were still yet to come. By the time filming reached its midpoint, the Charger had already proven itself as a workhorse. But the next set of facts reveals moments where the production crossed into territory that was bold, strange, and sometimes downright reckless. The kind of behind-the-scenes truth that makes this film unlike any other car movie of the era. It begins with Fact 10, centered around Peter Fonda. Most leading actors of the 1970s let stunt teams handle anything faster than a casual turn. But Fonda wasn't interested in playing it safe. He insisted on performing a surprising number of driving scenes himself. Not the most dangerous stunts, but enough that the crew grew anxious. He wanted audiences to see the tension in his hands, the instinctive corrections of the wheel, and the vibration of the engine through the cabin. What makes this fact important is not the act itself, but the risk the Charger wasn't fitted with modern safety gear, and Fonda was no professional racer. Yet he pushed the car with remarkable confidence, adding authenticity that no stunt double could replicate. But confidence has limits. In fact, 9 proves it. During a high-speed run across a narrow bridge, the Charger nearly lost control. The stunt driver overshot the line by inches, and had the tires slipped just a little more, the car would have gone off the side. The terrifying moment never made it into the final cut, but it haunted the team afterward. Stunt coordinators later admitted it was one of the closest calls of the entire production. Even the director, usually unfazed, went silent after reviewing the footage. As if that wasn't enough. Fact 8 introduces one of the strangest technical mishaps of the shoot. Because the Charger shook violently at high speed, the crew mounted cameras directly onto the car's body using custom-built steel rigs. One of those rigs failed during a fast run, sending a camera flying onto the shoulder of the road. Miraculously, nobody was hit. Even more surprising, the camera survived well enough to continue shooting after quick repairs. Most productions would have shut down to investigate. Dirty Mary Crazy Larry tightened the bolts and kept rolling. Then comes Fact 7, a small secret that says everything about the production's mindset. Although the car did not have a standard roll cage, the stunt team quietly welded a hidden reinforcement bar inside the roofline for specific sequences. You can't see it on camera. You can barely spot it in behind-the-scenes photos. But the bar was there, a thin insurance policy for the drivers when scenes demanded something dangerously close to a rollover. It wasn't enough to meet safety standards, but it was better than nothing. And finally, Fact 6. Despite all its daring stunts, incredible speed, and iconic paint, this Charger remains one of the most overlooked movie muscle cars ever put on screen. Overshadowed by the General Lee Bullitt's Charger, and even Dom Toretto's black 1970, the yellow Charger, from Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, became a ghost of car cinema beloved by hardcore fans, but strangely absent from mainstream pop culture. Perhaps it was the film's gritty tone, or its shocking ending, or simply the randomness of Hollywood memory. But true enthusiasts know this car earned its place in the Muscle Car Hall of Fame, even if history didn't shine the spotlight on it. These secrets pull the story into sharper focus, not just about a car being filmed, but a production dancing constantly, on the edge of danger, improvisation, and unpredictability. As the dust settled on production, what remained wasn't just a film, but the beginning of a strange cult legacy, one that grew slowly, quietly, and unexpectedly. And that legacy becomes unmistakable when we explore the final cluster of facts before the ultimate reveal. We begin with Fact 5, the film's bravest creative gamble, a 20-minute chase sequence nearly uninterrupted. At a time when most action films cut quickly, hiding imperfections, Dirty Mary Crazy Larry did the opposite. It let scenes breathe long stretches of asphalt, roaring engines, and real mechanical strain unfolding in front of the audience. This wasn't stylish editing or Hollywood glamour. It was raw endurance pushing the Charger, the drivers, and the film crew through miles of tension. Critics at the time were divided. Some thought it was excessive, others called it revolutionary. But today, that extended chase is considered one of the boldest pieces of practical vehicular filmmaking of the era. What followed was Fact 4, the cultural shadow cast by the yellow Charger. It became a symbol of a very specific 1970s archetype, the outlaw rebel who refuses to follow the rules. Unlike the polished, heroic cars of its time, this Charger represented chaos, freedom, and the thrill of outrunning fate. Posters of the film often emphasized the car more than the actors, reinforcing the idea that the Charger wasn't just a vehicle in the story, it was the story. This rebellious anti-system energy resonated with a generation experiencing political unrest, economic uncertainty, and a growing fascination with counterculture. A yellow muscle car tearing through American highways captured that feeling more vividly than words ever could. Then comes Fact 3, which reveals just how deeply the car affected one of its stars. Peter Fonda, known for embracing unconventional roles, later admitted that this Charger was the greatest damn getaway car ever shot. For an actor who had driven countless machines across decades, that praise meant something. He didn't see the Charger as a prop or a background detail. He felt its temperament, the way it shuddered at high RPMs, the heaviness of its steering, the stubbornness in its weight. Fonda wasn't just acting beside the car, he was partnering with it. That emotional connection continues to influence how fans remember the film today. But not all of the Charger's legacy came from admiration. Fact 2 uncovers one of the most controversial decisions of the production. Several scenes were filmed without proper permits on public highways. The crew occasionally shot guerrilla style, hoping to capture real traffic, real conditions, and real unpredictability. On more than one occasion, local authorities intervened. There were reports of warnings, complaints, and even near shutdowns. It created tension on set, yet it also produced moments of authenticity impossible to replicate on closed studio backlots. The ethics remain debated, but the results shots filled with organic energy and genuine stakes are undeniable. Together, these 4 facts form the emotional and cultural heart of the film's legacy. They echo the same spirit that burned through the Charger's tires: boldness, danger, and a refusal to play by the rules. Behind every roar of the engine was a creative team gambling everything on instinct and adrenaline, hoping the world would understand what they were trying to capture. Only one final truth remains, the fact that defines this car more than all the others. And it's one that could only be filmed once. In the world of practical action filmmaking, there are stunts you can rehearse, stunts you can fake, and stunts you can attempt more than once. But the final moment of Dirty Mary Crazy Larry belonged to none of those categories. It was a one-shot gamble, a single chance where everything depended on timing, physics, and faith. This brings us to Fact 1, the defining truth of the film. The climactic crash was real, filmed in one take, and carried consequences that could not be undone. The script called for a shocking, abrupt ending, a moment so sudden that audiences would be left breathless. To achieve it, the crew needed a full-size 1969 Dodge Charger, traveling at speed, hitting a moving train at precisely the right angle. There were no miniature models, no second unit illusions, no digital corrections waiting in post-production. If the timing was off by even a fraction of a second, the shot would fail, and the last Charger would be gone forever. The morning of the stunt, tension on set was palpable. The stunt driver knew he couldn't hesitate. The camera operators knew they only had one chance to capture everything. Even the director stood silently, fully aware that the scene he imagined could either become cinematic history or vanish with the wreckage. When the moment came, the Charger roared toward the crossing sunlight bouncing off its yellow paint. The train approached from the opposite direction, a hulking mass of steel and momentum. And then in a violent instant, metal collided with metal. The Charger was crushed, twisted, and thrown aside like a discarded toy. The explosion of debris wasn't staged. It was the raw result of physics asserting itself. No one celebrated after the shot. The set fell into a strange quiet, a mix of awe, relief, and disbelief that something so dangerous had gone exactly as planned. What they captured that day became one of the most unforgettable endings of 1970s cinema, a moment that still sparks debate among viewers who can't believe the crash was real. It was, and it sealed the legend of the yellow Charger forever, not as a car that triumphed, but as one that met destiny head-on in a single shot that could never be repeated. When the dust finally settled on Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, what remained wasn't just a film about two outlaws outrunning the law. It was the story of a machine pushed to the edge of its limits. A production team willing to bend rules to capture unfiltered realism, and a moment in cinema where danger wasn't replicated. It was embraced. The 1969 Dodge Charger didn't just perform. It endured, adapted, and ultimately sacrificed itself for a closing shot that would echo through film history. Looking back at all 20 weird facts, a clearer picture emerges. This wasn't a carefully controlled Hollywood set filled with safety nets and second chances. It was a chaotic, creative battleground. The Charger existed in 3 forms, each with a role: the beauty, the bruiser, and the doomed final stunt car. It was upgraded, repaired, nearly lost, and eventually destroyed in the name of storytelling. The drivers risked more than the script asked of them. The crew operated at the crossroads of determination and recklessness. And the car, bright yellow and impossible to ignore, became a symbol of a filmmaking era defined by bold choices and unfiltered adrenaline. What makes this Charger unforgettable isn't its fame. It's the opposite. It's the fact that one of the most daring muscle cars ever put on screen somehow slipped out of mainstream pop culture, remembered only by true enthusiasts, stunt historians, and fans who appreciate the rough edge of 1970s cinema. It remains a legend built from danger, speed, improvisation, and one irreversible moment that sealed its fate. And that's the story we preserve here, honoring a car that didn't just appear in a film, but carried the film on its steel shoulders mile after mile until the very last breath of gasoline and momentum.